So today we are going to be crocheting this beautiful skirt inspired by Hook by Lade. It is going to be fun and easy and a little bit time consuming. We are going to start by making the waistband, then making the body of the skirt, and then we'll proceed to making the pleats. So you're going to choose a main color for the body of the skirt and then different colors for making the pleats. So grab your materials and let's get started. A lightweight yarn is recommended for this project, and you can use the recommended hook size of the yarn you're using. I am using a 4-ply yarn and I'll be using a 4mm hook, but if you have a lightweight yarn you should use that and a smaller size hook. So we are going to start by making a slip knot, and then we'll proceed to make the number of chains that you want. If you want your waistband to be small, you can do about 10 chains. If you want it to be a little bit higher, you can do about 14 chains. So the number of chains you do is going to determine how long your waistband is going to be. So I did 12. I'm just going to chain an extra 2, and into that very first stitch I'm going to place a double crochet stitch just like that, and then into the next stitch I'm going to place a double crochet stitch, and into every stitch I'm going to place a double crochet till I reach the very end. Also, you can choose to make your waistband in single or half double crochet stitches. I just want something that's going to be fast, so that's why I'm going for double crochet stitches. So just continue with your double crochet into every stitch and I'll meet you in the very last stitch. Also, in this tutorial I am doing a small model for the skirt, not the actual size. It's just for the purpose of the tutorial so that it will not be time consuming. So I have reached the very last stitch. I'm going to place my very last double crochet there, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. So our first chain is a regular double crochet, but in the next chain we will be working in the back loop only. So go into the back loop like that, and then you place your double crochet just in the back loop, and we are going to be placing a double crochet into the back loop only till we reach the very last stitch where we are going to place a regular double crochet. For each round, make sure you count the number of stitches at the end. It shouldn't differ from your original number. So if you started with 12, all your rows should be 12 double crochet stitches. If you started with 14, then every row should be 14 double crochet stitches. If you do more or less, your waistband is going to be irregular and you wouldn't want that. So you count for every row. Now that is the same number, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Into the very first stitch I'm placing a regular double crochet just like this, and then a double crochet into the back loop only, and I'll keep placing double crochet stitches in the back loop only till I reach my very last stitch where I'm going to do a regular double crochet. So we have reached the very last stitch. We're going to place our regular double crochet stitch, and then we'll chain 1, turn our work, and we'll just keep repeating this till you get the waist, the So measure as you go along to get your exact waist measurement. And after you have that, you're going to chain one. You turn your work. We now need to join the band together. So we are going to go into the very first stitch. Make sure you line them up like that. We'll go into the very first stitch on both sides, and then we are going to join with a slip stitch. Then we'll go into the next stitch, go into the corresponding stitch on the other side and make a slip stitch. And we are just going to continue making slip stitches till we get to the very last stitch. Okay, so now we have reached the end, and then I'm going to make sure I go into the very last stitch at the corner there, and place a slip stitch. Then this now is the back side of our band. At this point you should have your waist measurement, and then what we're going to do is start with the body of the skirt. So we are going to chain 2 and turn our work, which will now be on the right side. Turn like this, and then into the very next stitch we are going to place a double crochet, and then in that space we are going to place 2 double crochet stitches, because that is like a double crochet line sideways. So we're just going to go ahead and place our double crochet stitches, and I am working over the tail of my yarn, so I don't have to bother about weaving it later. Into that place that looks like a ridge, just place 1 double crochet, and then into the next space you place another double crochet. So whenever you meet these parts that look like a ridge, just place 1 double crochet, and the space that is bigger, that is like a double crochet that is lying sideways, you just put 2 double crochet stitches. And we are going to do this all round till we come back to our starting point. So this is how our work looks like. I'm almost back at where we started, so I'm just going to do my very last stitch right there, and then I'm just going to ignore the chain 2 we did at the beginning of this round and go straight to where we did our first double crochet, and then I'll make a slip stitch just like this. So that chain 2 is just there like a filler stitch, and then I'm going to start making accommodation for the hips. Let me just chain 2 and turn. Then I'll grab my stitch markers, because now we have the waist measurement, but we want to increase to reach our hip measurement. So you should have those 2 measurements. So I'm just going to lay it flat like this, and then go to the sides where I'm going to be doing the increases and place my stitch markers. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a different color of yarn, to mark where you want to do your increases. So now what we are going to do is continue with our double crochet stitches. So from the chain 2 we did and turn, we are going into the very first double crochet stitch to place a double crochet, and then we are going to place one double crochet into every stitch till we get to where we have our stitch marker, and I'll show you how to do the increases. Okay, so now we have reached where we have our stitch marker. We are going to take it out, and in that stitch we are going to place 3 double crochet stitches. That is where we are doing our increase. And then we are going to grab our stitch marker and place it on the second stitch, the middle stitch of the 3 double crochet stitches we did in the same stitch. So after marking the middle stitch, we are going to continue working our double crochet stitches all the way till we meet the other stitch marker, where we are going to make an increase. So those stitch markers are our increase points. So we have reached the other stitch marker. We'll take it out, and in that stitch we are going to place 3 double crochet stitches. This is the second one, the third one, and then we'll grab our stitch marker. I'll mark the middle stitch, and then we are going to continue placing double crochet into every stitch till we reach our starting point. So just keep placing regular double crochet stitches till we reach where we did our chain 2. So now we have reached there. We are going to ignore that chain 2 and make a slip stitch into the very first double crochet stitch, just like that. Then we are going to chain 2 and turn our work. So we are just going to do double crochet into every stitch till we reach our stitch marker, and then I'll show you what to do. But note that this is a row of non-increase, because after I do a row of increase, the next row is supposed to be a row of non-increase. So when you reach your stitch marker, you're just going to take it out, and then you place one double crochet into that stitch, because we are not doing any increases, and then you get your stitch marker and you place it back on the stitch, and you continue placing double crochet into every stitch till you reach the other stitch marker, and you repeat the exact same thing and continue till we get back to our starting point. So we have reached our stitch marker. We are just going to take it out, place a double crochet there, replace the stitch marker, and then we continue with double crochet stitches till we reach our starting point. At this point, you grab your tape. As you can see, we have done increases. Our work is increasing by the sides outward. So you grab your tape and measure. If you have reached your hip measurement, then you don't need to do any more increases. But if you have not attained your hip measurement, then you're going to repeat our row of increase and non-increase, increase and non-increase till you attain your hip measurement, and then we are going to continue from there. Because this is just a module for demonstration, I won't be doing any more increases. So when you've actually done your increases and have your hip measurement, you just need to take out your stitch markers, and then you continue working just regular double crochet stitches into every stitch, and that is what I'm going to do now. So grab out your stitch markers and then we are going to do double crochet stitches till you reach a length that just go beneath your bum. That is the length we want. Since you are going to be working our pleats over it, you don't need it to be long, because that's just going to take you extra yarn and time for no good reason. So just continue with a double crochet into every stitch. Okay, for the purpose of this tutorial, I will be ending with this length. Since I'm just making a mini version of the skirt, it's just for demonstration. So I'm just going to cut off my yarn and I'll weave in the end later on. So let's just assume that this is a length that goes just beneath your bum bum or buttocks. So what we're going to do now is to give this shape that comes and curves a little bit in the middle like that. You want to grab your stitch markers, or if you have a color chalk that you can draw on your skirt, then you go ahead and use it. I got white chalk and I can see, you cannot really see the white, but it's there. I already traced out the line that I want to work with. So I'm just going to grab my stitch markers and then I follow the chalk or that thread. I added the thread because the color is bright, to enable you guys to see what I'm doing. So I'll just grab my stitch markers and just follow my line and place them exactly on the lines from this end right up to the other end. Sorry about my voice, guys. I have a cold. It's terrible, but I'm already feeling better. That's why I can make this voice over now. I've had this video in my phone for over a month now with no lights, not feeling well and all that. So pardon my voice. So this is what we have so far. I have traced it out. Now I'm going to start working. So I'm going to grab my hook, grab my new color of yarn, and let's get into it. I'm going to start by making a slip knot. Then I'm going to start where we have the very first stitch marker. Right there, we are going to place a double crochet stitch. So let's take out the stitch marker, insert our hook. So we are going to chain 2 and then following the line we are going to make a double crochet. Then chain 1, and in that same space you're going to make another double crochet because you are making a V stitch. So we are making a double crochet, and then our next stitch should be a V stitch, and remember we are following our line. When we reach our stitch markers, we take them out. So this is a double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet into the same space. So that's my V stitch. So I'm going to be alternating between double crochet and V stitch all the way around till I get to the very end. So after a V stitch you make a double crochet, and then next is a V stitch, after that a double crochet. So that's the repetition we are going to be making till we get to our very last stitch marker. Okay, so just continue alternating between V stitches and double crochet stitches, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, let me just show you real quick how our work is going. We just need to do that curve right down there, they'll come back right up. And yes, of course, we are following our stitch markers. So this is me, I have one stitch marker left. I'm just going to turn my skirt around, then using that one stitch marker as a guide, I'm going to trace it right to this other end, or just count the number of rows so that I can attach a stitch marker on the other side. Then we're just going to repeat what we did for the other side. You can use your chalk, another color yarn or whatever to trace out our shape, and then we begin crocheting. You can even trace the exact same line from the other side, because the stitches we have done, you can actually feel it, so it is very easy to trace. So I just got my chalk and I traced it all the way right up there. If you like, you can still put your stitch markers so that I don't get confused. Yeah, and they repeat the same thing, V stitches alternating with double crochet stitches all the way around till you meet your very first stitch. So this is me working my last stitch, which is going to be a V stitch because I started with a double crochet. So that is a V stitch, and I think I had one stitch left there, but because I want the pattern to be like V stitch double crochet, I just ignored that and went ahead into the double crochet. I made a slip stitch, and because I have to change this yarn, we are just going to chain one and then cut off our yarn. Okay, so this is how our first row of our pleats is looking like. Now you can now go for your second color, make a slip knot, go to where you end the other row, you reattach your yarn there. I already changed my hook size to a 3.5 because I want a smaller hook. So this is me reattaching my yarn, then chain one. So you're going to make a front post single crochet, insert your hook from the back of the stitch like that. You're supposed to yarn over, but I want to walk over the tail of my yarn, so you yarn over like this, you pull through, you chain one, I chain two, then you yarn over into the next stitch. You're going to place 2 double crochet stitches, chain one, 2 double crochet stitches, and then into the next stitch we are going to do a front post double crochet. So you yarn over, insert your hook from the back of the loop to the front like this, you pull a loop through, you pull through two, you pull through two. That's a front post double crochet, but I want to walk over the tail of my yarn, so I'm sending that like this, and then I do my front post double crochet as I would normally do. That way I'm walking over the tail of my yarn. Into the V stitch I'm going to place 2 double crochet stitches. That's 1, 2, then I chain 1, and in that same V stitch I place another set of 2 double crochet stitches. And then into the next stitch I'm going to do a front post double crochet. Yeah, working over the tail of my yarn still. I do a front post double crochet, and then to the next stitch, which is a V stitch, I'm going to do 2 double crochet, chain 1, and then 2 double crochet stitches into the same V stitch. We are going to repeat that pattern of front post double crochet and V stitches all the way round till we get back to our starting point. We have gone all round, and I am ending my last stitch with a V stitch, and then we are going to slip stitch that into our very first stitch, which is a front post single crochet chain 2. So we're going to make a slip stitch to join that round, chain 1, and cut our yarn. So come in with your third color for our pleat. So you can use whatever colors you like. This is how our work is looking like. Grab the third color of your yarn, make a slip knot, and then you reattach to where we ended. Insert your hook, pull the loop through, chain 1 to secure, make a front post single crochet, chain 2, go into the first double crochet with a double crochet stitch, then into the second double crochet, place a double crochet stitch 2, and work over the tail of your yarn so you don't have to worry about that later on. Then into that V stitch space we are going to place a V stitch. So make a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet into that same space. Then into the next 2 V stitches, into the next 2 stitches place 1 double crochet each. So a double crochet and a double crochet into the next double crochet. And then now you see our stitches have increased from 4 to 6, so we are doing increases. We had 2 on this side separated by a stitch and 2 on this other side, but now we have 3 on each side. So into the front post double crochet stitch we make a front post double crochet, then we continue into the next 2 stitches. We are going to place 1 double crochet each, double crochet, next stitch, double crochet. Into the V stitch space we are going to place a V stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet into the same space, double crochet into the next 2 stitches, a front post into the previous front post double crochet, and this is what you are going to keep repeating. Every stitch receives a double crochet, and then the V stitch space receives a V stitch, and then each time you reach a post stitch, we make another front post double crochet. This is what we are going to repeat all round till we come back to our starting point. So we have made it to the end. We are just going to slip stitch into the front post single crochet chain 2 we did at the beginning, and since we need to cut our change our color, we are going to chain 1 and then cut off our yarn. Let's come in with our 4th color of yarn. You make a slip knot, and then you reattach where we ended. You basically just repeat what we have been doing. Make a front post single crochet, chain 2, then into every double crochet stitch we are going to place a double crochet. Make sure we are working over the tail of our yarns. So now we have 3 double crochet stitches to work into before we reach the space of the V stitch. Then we are going to place a V stitch by making a double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet into the same space, and then we place a double crochet into each stitch. That's in the next 3 double crochet stitches. And then we are now at the front post double crochet. We now place a front post double crochet. So we are basically repeating what we did in the previous row, but for each round our stitch count in each section separated by 2 front post double crochet increases by 2, one on each side of the V stitch. So no matter how many rows you want to make, each time you're adding a V stitch into the V stitch space of the previous round, that's automatically an increase of 2 stitches. So your number of stitch will keep on increasing, but you can reach a certain number and you decide to no longer do increases. So you see we left from 6 in row 3 of our pleats, and we are now at 8 stitches, and that's how it's going to keep increasing. So you're just going to repeat this pattern and do as many rounds as you want, but make sure that the length of your pleat is longer than the length of the actual skirt, so the actual skirt beneath does not show. So you're just going to repeat that to get your desired length. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I made 6 rows, starting with the first row consisting of V stitch and regular double crochet stitches. We went to do an increase. Second row had 4 stitches, third row had 6 stitches, fourth row had 8 stitches, fifth row had 10 stitches, sixth row had 12 stitches. So the number of stitches just keep increasing. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm ending at this length, but you can decide to make the length that you want and even make a full length right up to your ankles. It all depends on you, on the length of skirt that you want to make, but the pattern remains the same. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, give this video a like, leave a comment, And thank you very much for supporting my channel always. I am very grateful. God bless you for watching, and hopefully I see you in my next video. And please don't forget to check out other videos on my channel. Look at this. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I don't know, the colors are cool. I love it like this. I wish I could make it for my size, but damn. I love this. It looks pretty and clean. So this is how our skirt is looking like. See you guys in my next video. Love you. Bye.